The first movie concludes with a victory, ending a 12-year-long war against the Kaiju, giant beasts sent by the precursors through a breach in the Pacific Ocean. It is now the year 2035. There has been 10 years of peace. However, Jaegers are still being built. Marshall Stacker Pentecost sacrificed himself to help save the world. But his son, Jake Pentecost, he rather lives in a broken world. To him, a half-destroyed mansion is still better than a rundown apartment. While many would label him a thief or a criminal, Jake prefers to call it hustling. Decommissioned Jaeger scrapyards offer big scores, and nothing sells for more than stolen Jaeger tech. Jake is about to hustle up some Jaeger tech. His partners don't seem to trust him, seeing Jake has a reputation of not paying his bills. Bad luck for Jake, the plasma capacitor is not there. His partners see that as good enough a reason to kill him, but Jake manages to escape them. Jake uses a gizmo to track down the plasma capacitor, which leads him to somebody else's workshop. Here we see a Jaeger called Scrapper. It's built by Amari Amani. She doesn't trust Jake, seeing Jake wants to hustle her Jaeger. Jake may have escaped his partners, but he led the police right to them, so it's time for an emergency test run of Scrapper. Normally a Jaeger needs 2 pilots, but because Scrapper is very small for Jaeger, Amara is able to pilot it by herself. They ran into a regular-sized Jaeger called November Ajax. They tried to escape and hide, but they failed. Jake insists on using one of the 2 batteries of Scrapper's power source as a weapon. Amara says no, but Jake does it anyways and Scrapper runs out of juice, so they land up in jail. Jake explains to Amara that it's all her fault they got caught. You should have just let me pilot your Jaeger. Who here doesn't instantly love our main protagonist? Normally you need to spend a long time in prison, but Jake has a get-out-of-jail-free card in the form of his adopted sister, aka Secretary General Amako Amori, and offers him a choice to train Jaeger cadets or prison time. Amara is in luck as well, seeing she built and piloted her own Jaeger. She is allowed into the Jaeger cadet training program. They fly to the Muyan Shatterdome in China. Here they meet up with Jaeger pilot Nate. He comes from a long line of warriors. Jake and Nate used to drift together. Despite that, even Nate doesn't like Jake. Amara is amazed to learn that Jake's last name is Pentecost. Jake becomes irritated when he is reminded of his family name, indicating that he left due to the immense shadow his father's giant Jaeger efforts cast on him. Amara looks in awe at all the Jaeger hardware, including Titan Redeemer. It's equipped with a giant mace. Racer Phoenix, known for its vortex cannons. Saber Athena, it wields twin plasma swords and it has the ability to LARP as a ninja. And last but not least, the Gypsy Adventure, the spiritual successor of the Gypsy Danger. Jules Ray, who works at JTech, introduces herself, being all sexy to both Nate and Jake, adding to even more tension between the 2 men. Amara meets up with the other cadets. Russian cadet Victoria doesn't like Amara so much. Will it turn into a catfight? Before ever piloting, cadets practice together in a simulator. Amara needs to have a lot more practice if she wants to be at the same level as the other cadets. Li Wen Xiao, CEO of Xiao Industries, and Newton, head of research and development, plan to make the Jaeger program obsolete. Normally Newton is the smartest guy in the room, but his Mandarin is less than stellar. Dr. Gottlieb asks his old colleague for some help with revolutionary rocket fuel based on Kaiju blood. Dr. Newton seems to have little to no interest in it. More than that, something seems off with Newt. Gottlieb tells Newt that he still has nightmares of the time they drifted together. Newt, on the other hand, replies, well, okay, but it was one hell of a rush. Li Wen doesn't trust Gottlieb and tells Newt, don't talk to your friend anymore. Yes, mommy, I mean CEO. Li Wen gives a presentation on the next step of Jaeger evolution, remotely piloted Jaegers that require only a single pilot. People there started to complain. Good job! Mako does not want remotely piloted Jaegers because they can be hacked, or worse, she will use her key vote to prevent this from happening. The Gypsy Adventure, piloted by Nate and Jake, is in Sydney, Australia to stand tall and pretty, while world leaders show up to decide on the drone program. All the while, people are protesting for the right to identify as Kaijus. Nate tells Jake to stop thinking about Jules. Whoops, the naughty filter is not working. Is it a shark? Or is it Aquaman? No, it's a rogue Jaeger named Obsidian Fury, and it's up to no good, causing some trouble in the neighborhood. Gypsy narrowly dodges a rocket, which then hits a building instead, which causes a helipad to fall down. Gypsy manages to catch it and save Lewin's life, and then gives a whole new meaning to Ultimate Frisbee. The Jaegers continue to duke it out. Fury lands one hell of an uppercut. Gypsy then draws its swords, but surprise, Fury has got 2 swords. Gypsy doesn't give up that easily. It uses its rocket arm punch, and then its gravity sling to temporarily push back Fury. During all of this, Mako's helicopter has been hit and is going down. Seeing Mako is a high value asset, the Gypsy abandons the fight and tries desperately to catch her, but crashes onto the ground instead. It's here that we see Jake shows another reason why it's good that he left the Jaeger program. He jumps out of the Gypsy and runs in desperation to the crashed and exploded helicopter, abandoning any chance they can beat the Fury. Luckily, 3 more Jaegers arrive just in time to prevent the Gypsy from being destroyed. However, the Fury manages to escape just before they arrive. We can see sometime later that Mako has an honorary virtual gravestone next to the other fallen heroes. Jake, on the other hand, has a real uphill battle to prove his worth. Meanwhile, Amara is practicing drifting with a human brain called Sarah, reminding me not to put my brain up for organ donation. Jake walks in to drift with her instead. Jake reminds her, the stronger the connection, the better you fight. An adult man in a 15-year-old girl's most private thoughts. That's a lawsuit just waiting to happen. During the drift, Amara and Jake are reliving Amara's most traumatic experience, which happens to be an attack of a kaiju killing both her parents. Amara is unable to let go, causing them to have to abort the drift. In Shanghai, at Xiao Industries headquarters, Newt and Luan meet up. Luan tells the good news that Xiao drone deployment has been approved. Mako was planning to veto it, so was it some exceptional luck that Mako died just before the voting happened? Or was it? Newt is tasked to bring the drone program online in less than 84 hours. Newt's head engineer points out that it's nowhere near realistically possible. Newt tells her, just get it done, either you're a genius or you're fired. Here in a single shot, this Xiao factory alone has well over 20 times the Jaegers Marshal Pentecost had under his command during their last missions. Newt goes home to his hot trophy wife, only to find out it's actually a secondary kaiju brain. Newt seems to be addicted to drifting with it, and judging by his behavior, it's messing with his head in more ways than one. Vic and Amara have their catfight, and everybody else loves it, and then they are told to stand firm in intention because of it. Mako sent half a message just before her helicopter crashed down, and Gottlieb figured out the message of Mako. It said the location of Severnaya Semblia in Siberia. The Gypsy is heading there for some avenging. However, Fury gets the drop on them and gets the upper hand, forcing them to dive underwater. But Jake and Nate have a couple of tricks up their sleeve as well. They rip out its power core and discover that the Obsidian Fury is piloted by a Kaiju brain. Gottlieb examines it and discovers that even though its biology is based on Kaiju, it's made on planet Earth. Security is not very tight, so the cadets decide to take a look inside the Obsidian. Amara shows off her biology skills by cutting into a piece of kaiju tissue. Another cadet proves it's not made for human contact. As a reward for her behavior, she gets kicked out of cadet training, and her fellow cadets are on probation. As a parting message, Amara tells Jake Fury had Xiao Industries tech inside, with sets of alarm bells, but not before Newt and his team managed to pull off a miracle because they delivered and set up the Jaeger drone program in less than 48 hours. Gottlieb is now tasked to contact Newt to help figure out how the Xiao industry tech got in there. As the Jaeger drones get delivered, they turned into kaiju cyborgs with a mind of their own, and seeing they are delivered at Shadowdomes all around the world, there's little to no time to defend against their sneak attacks. While all of this is happening, Gottlieb believes that Newt is innocent in the matter and requests his help to stop all of this. Liu Wen believes otherwise and sends 4 guards to escort the scientists. However, these 2 are not just nerds, they can fight their way out of this situation. Newt already built a back door into the drones, but he unveils that he was planning this already for the last 10 years. His goal was to end humankind. Yes, you heard that right. The lovable person from 10 years ago that helped save the world is now the bad guy. He now instructs all the drones to create breaches all over the world so that the kaiju can enter in full force. A bewildered Gottlieb asks Newt, why are you doing this? Newt answers not so much with his own voice, he is in fact controlled to do the bidding of the precursors. Li Wen asks Newt, how are you able to do this? Newt, now able to speak perfect Mandarin, explains, it was easy. I always made sure you thought you were the smartest person in the room. Luan chases him off using a gun, and then proceeds to use something she calls a feedback loop, and all the quantum computer chips in all the drones all over the world blow up. All the breaches have been closed, but not before 2 Category 4s and 1 Category 5 Kaiju made it to Earth. All the Jaeger pilots are either dead or injured, except for Jake, Nate and the cadets. On top of that, most Jaegers have been damaged. Amara is therefore kicked back into the program to help with repairs. Even though Xiao Industries are to blame for this massive disaster, they show up as if they are the cavalry to save the day. They work tirelessly and manage to repair in total 4 Jaegers. The team discovers that the kaiju named Hakuja, Striketorn and Raiju are heading towards Mount Fuji, Japan. Gottlieb then explains there are rare earth elements in that mountain. Combining it with kaiju blood will create a bomb that will set the whole world on fire and finish terraforming the earth so that the precursors can live on earth. The only way to get there on time is to use the rocket fuel of Gottlieb. It's not ready to power thrusters yet, but today is a good time to test them out. Jules shows her interest in double joysticks, but Nate and Jake on the other hand only want to be in each other's heads, not each other's pants. Now it's time for Jake to do a big speech. He said that's more my dad's style, but he gives one anyway. 4 Jaegers have been repaired and are ready for battle thanks to Xiao Industries' repairs in record time. The giant monsters are in Godzilla's hometown, otherwise known as Tokyo. 4 Jaegers and 3 Kaijus are now engaged in an epic battle. The Kaijus land a few punches here and there, however the Jaegers have the upper hand. Some of the cadets show that they have perfect hand dexterity over their Jaeger, and Victoria enjoys those big guns. Just then, Newt appears with a new trick up his sleeve. He unleashes the rippers that turn 3 giant kaiju into a mega kaiju. Where the Jaegers were just winning, they now just look like ragdolls. It would have been nice if the RX-0 Unicorn Mobile Suit Gundam would have saved the day, but this one is only a statue. You can actually see it for yourself if you're ever in Tokyo. Bracer Phoenix was destroyed, but Amara and the 2 other cadets eject on time. Even the Gypsy is no match, and Nate gets injured in the process, so now it's time for Amara to pilot alongside with Jake. Meanwhile, Mega Kaiju is getting closer and closer to Mount Fuji. Is all hope lost? No. In Jake's mind, an idea takes form. They need a rocket to launch them into space. But the rocket is too far away. But no worries. Li Yuan is piloting Scrapper and brings and welds it to the arm of Gypsy. Both Gypsy and Scrapper fly into outer space. To steer the Gypsy on top of Mega Kaiju, they use the plasma cannon. Gypsy makes 2 fists and plans to dive into Mega Kaiju. Gottlieb reminds the 2 heroes to eject and just let auto aim take care of the rest. But the remaining ejection pod doesn't work, no fear, because Scrapper is here. And with a well-executed ninja roll, they manage to survive the fall from space. If you think that's unrealistic, well, I'm sorry, because then you just don't know enough about Chinese Kung Fu. Meanwhile, the Gypsy Avenger gives the mother of all punches, which splits the kaiju in half. Looks like Nate was not too badly hurt after all, seeing he manages to climb up a tall building and take out Newt. Woohoo, okay. Our heroes saved the day, so now it's time to celebrate with a snowball fight. The movie ends with Newt being captured, and Jake tells Newt, "Tell those things in your head. We'll be coming for your planet next time." Will there ever be a part 3? Not likely. Even some of the hardcore Pacific fans from part 1 pretend that this movie doesn't even exist at all. Without going into the many valid points, I prefer to suggest there are plenty of really good Gundam anime series out there. Moral of the story: big robots need a good storyline if they want to make a trilogy. But the movie is not that bad if you fall asleep and wake up during the fight scenes.